G'day everyone, welcome to Act 4 Scene 3 of Macbeth. Now we've just finished Act 4 Scene 2 where Macduff's family is murdered and Macduff is off visiting Malcolm. Now remember, Malcolm is King Duncan's oldest son, and after King Duncan was murdered, Malcolm ran off to England to seek support and shelter down there, and he's been building an army down in England. So Macduff's come down to try and convince Malcolm that it's time to come back to Scotland and get rid of Macbeth. And Malcolm meets Macduff, and what Malcolm's trying to do is try to figure out whether Macduff is one of Macbeth's agents and whether he can trust him or not. And what Macduff's trying to do is convince Malcolm to come back. And so Malcolm says here, you may deserve of him through me and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God. So Malcolm's saying here that, hey, maybe you're here to get me back and then hand me over to Macbeth. And Macduff states, I'm not treacherous. And that's really interesting. Got these long lines here, and then Macduff has a simple, direct statement. I'm not treacherous. Malcolm comes straight back, but Macbeth is. And so the transformation is complete. Now Macbeth is absolutely treacherous and an evil person. Macduff goes on, and Malcolm is not agreeing to come back. Malcolm's saying, no, I'm not coming back. And Macduff gets really upset, and he says, bleed, bleed, poor country, great tyranny, lay thou thy bases shore, for goodness dare not check thee. Wear thou thy wrongs, the title is afeard. Fare thee well, Lord, I would not be the villain that thou think'st, for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich east to boot. So here Macduff is lamenting Scotland's decline because of Macbeth, and he's saying that I'm not the bad person you think I am, and I wouldn't betray you for all of Scotland or the riches of the East. The East is just a general foreign land. And then Malcolm's starting to think, okay, maybe Macduff is genuine here, but he's going to test him a little bit more. And Malcolm says, I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. A yoke is an agricultural implement used on work animals to pull plows and things like that, and so it's a term that's used to indicate slavery or harsh conditions. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. So this is personification of Scotland, and some nice imagery here. And they go on. Macbeth is now called Black Macbeth. And Macduff is saying, not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth. So he's saying there's no one worse than Macbeth. Now this is interesting because if you remember in Act 1 Scene 2, we get descriptions of Macbeth from other people, from the captain reporting to King Duncan. And it's completely the opposite of these descriptions here. So this is a nice contrast to Act 1, Scene 2. So Macduff has said, yeah, he's really, really terrible. Malcolm agrees with him. But Malcolm is saying, hey, but I've got some bad faults too. But there's no bottom, none in my voluptuousness. Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my lust and my desire. So Malcolm's saying, hey, my great fault is that I am very lecherous. That means he's suggesting that he would take all the women for himself. But Macduff says, okay, yeah, okay, accept that. It's still better than Macbeth. Malcolm goes on, a staunchless avarice that were I king, I should cut off the nobles for their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house. So Malcolm's saying, oh, my next vice, my next weakness is that I'm really, really greedy. So not am I lustful, I'm also greedy, and I'll take all the wealth for myself. And Macduff's saying, well, okay, so this is a problem too, but with others, grace is weighed. You've got some good things too that will outweigh that, suggesting that Macbeth doesn't have any good points at all now. But Malcolm goes on, but I have none. I don't have any good points here. And Macduff is upset here. He says, oh, Scotland, Scotland. And then we go on. Again, Macduff is lamenting that there is no one to save Scotland. He says, oh, my breast, breast means heart in this case. Thy hope ends here. And so Malcolm, now seeing Macduff's truth and his commitment to Scotland, says, Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honour. Devilish Macbeth, and goes on. He says, okay, your honesty and your dignity have restored me, and we'll go and get Devilish Macbeth. So Macduff has passed the test, so that is good. Now the scene goes on a little bit, and Ross comes in now. So if you remember Ross, he's a cousin to Lady Macduff, and he's come down and he has some news as well. And he's going to bring news that Macduff's family is murdered. And so here is Ross telling them here, your castle is surprised, your wife and babes savagely slaughtered, to relate the manner were on the quarry of these murdered deer, to add the death of you. And Malcolm's upset, merciful heaven. Macduff says, my children too. Yep, everyone's dead. And Macduff cries out, he has no children, all my pretty ones, did you say? Oh, hell-kite, hell-kite. So he's referring to Macbeth here. All my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop. And Malcolm's advice is, dispute it like a man. Macduff says, I shall do so, but I must feel it as a man. So this is a nice contrast here to Macbeth. Macduff is quite willing to feel emotions. He doesn't have the same hesitation. He doesn't overthink things. He's a lot more direct and forthright with his thoughts, feelings, and emotions than Macbeth is. Then the scene ends. Malcolm finishes up. He gets the last lines of this scene because he's going to be king. So he needs to get some noble lines here, and he finishes off with a rhyming couplet. Receive what cheer you may, the night is long that never finds the day. And so Act 4 ends, and so does the plan, or at least Macbeth's success in his tyranny is going to end as well. And so that brings us into Act 5, the final act, where we see the climax and the resolution of the story. All right, that's it. Thank you.